Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to our performance task review for this stats unit. So the good news is that on your performance task, which is an actual exam and it's going to be put in your grade, you get to use this review as your notes. So my recommendation for you is take excellent notes today. Let's focus so that when you go and take your test, you have just the best version of the help that you can get. So use a separate sheet of paper. That's my recommendation to answer these questions because there's simply not enough room on here. Go ahead and take out that separate sheet of paper if you haven't already. So let's begin looking at our data set. It says the table below shows the ages of the first 11 presidents. Right here, I'll call them group 1. And the last 11 presidents of the United States, and I'll call them group 2. When they first took office. And so we have some questions about the data. Okay, the first question is, what is the range of the ages of the first 11 presidents? So the vocab word here is the range. Then the next question will want that same thing, but for the last 11 presidents. All right, so let's start by just taking some quick notes on the right. The range is a vocab word, and it just means the maximum minus the minimum. It represents the spread of the data. Let's get calculating, okay? So let's start with question 1, the range of the ages of the first 11 presidents. So as we know, I need the maximum age. Look through the data. I'm seeing that the maximum age is the 68 here. And I need the minimum, and the minimum age is 49, at least for the first 11 presidents. So in order to answer this question then, I'll say range equals max, which was 68, minus the minimum age, which was 49. 68 minus 49 gives me with a range of 19 years. That means between the oldest and the youngest president out of the first 11, the gap or the distance in between them was 19 years. Okay, they're 19 years apart. And everybody else falls within that range. Okay, let's do the same for group 2 now. I'll call that range 1. Let's call this one range 2. Okay, so the maximum and the minimum, let's find them. Try it yourself. Check and make sure I'm not making any errors because it's totally possible that I might. But I found 70 and 43. So if my max is 70 and my minimum is 43, subtracting them tells me that there is a range of 27 years, or the gap between the oldest and the youngest presidents, right? The oldest one being at 70 years old, which is our current president, and then the youngest president being 43 years old. The distance between them is 27 years. Awesome. Next question. So calculating our range is easy enough. Now we're going to compare them. And comparing is a harder question because it kind of requires you to interpret. You got to know what it means, right? We're going to explain what this says about our data. So comparing the two ranges, it's clear that the more recent presidents have a larger range of 27 years versus the 19 years of the first 11 presidents. So let's begin by comparing that right away. We can say recent presidents have the larger range. Have a larger range specifically in what? In the ages, in their age when they took office. And I'm not just going to say that it's larger. I'm going to use my data to back me up. So I will say 27 years versus 19 years. period. But it's not just enough to say which is bigger. Now we have to say what it means. So this means, we'll write one sentence interpreting it. This means that recent presidents, right, the last 11, or actually let's put it this way. This means that recent presidents have a bigger range, meaning that their ages are all over the place, whereas the older presidents, right here, the older presidents, their ages are closer together. And that seems to be the simplest way that I can put this, so let me write that down. This means that the original, I'll just call them the original presidents, the first group, were closer together. And recent presidents' ages are further apart. Perfect. So we know that the original presidents' ages are closer together because there's only 20 years between them, or 19 years, whereas recent presidents have been young, they've been old, their ages are all over the place. Awesome. Let's keep going. Number 4 wants us now to find the mean, median, and the mode of the first 11 presidents. So the mean of the first 11 presidents, I'll call them mean 1. Now remember, the mean, you have to add up all the data. So let's make some notes here. Mean, add all the data, and then divide by the number of values. In this case, we have 11 values. The median is just the middle value, but that's only if the numbers are in order, so from the ordered list. And then the mode is simply referring to the value that occurs the most. Okay, the value that occurs the most. Mode. That's how I remember that. So let's find the mean of the first 11 presidents. That means I'm going to add up 57 plus 61 plus 57 plus, I'm going to add them all up. So go ahead and do it in your calculator, and so will I. Now to show my work, I'm not going to show all of them, but I'll just show a few. So 57, 61, 57 plus 61 plus, who is next? 57 plus, and instead of listing them all, I'm just going to write dot, dot, dot to represent all these guys in the middle. And we'll just end with 68 plus 51 plus 49. 58 plus 61 plus 49. So I'm adding them all up, and then I'm going to divide that by the number of values, and there were 11. So let's show our work. Adding all those up in my calculator, I'm getting 630. See if you also get the same thing. Dividing by 11, I'm getting 57 and I'm going to round 57.3 years. That's the average, or the mean. Next, let's find the median. Now remember, the median means I'm going to order them. I'm going to put them in order first, and then find the middle number. So let's go ahead and start ordering these. Okay, first I need from low to high. So let's start with the lowest, which is 49. Cross them out. The next lowest is 51. And you can keep going. So I already ordered these in advance so that this video wouldn't be like 8 hours long. But you can go ahead and pause it and order them right now. I'm going to do this quickly. 49, 51. Notice how I'm crossing them out as I move along, and so should you. 57, 57. There are a lot of 57s. There's 4 of them. And so let me count that I got all of my presidents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Awesome. So I got all of them. Okay, let's call that group 1. I'll color code it. So the median would be the middle number. Well, if you want to, you can go ahead and cross them out until you get to the middle guy. Now, since there's 11, the middle number will be the 6th one, and the median would be 57. So I'll write median is 57. Erase some of these marks. Okay, so this is our median right here. And remember, we also call the median Q2. All right, let's keep going now. Let's find the median. 57. Now let's find the mode. So the mode is just the number that occurs the most. And the mode for group 1, notice that the number that occurs the most is 57. It occurs 4 times. So our mode and our median happen to be the same this time. Awesome. So go ahead and do the same thing for number 5 for the second list, right? For our second group of presidents. I'll do it quickly, but you should pause the video and try it yourself. So I'm color coding mine again. All right, let me check. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Excellent. Let's find the mean. So once again, you're going to have to show your work. 43 plus 46 plus 47, and so on. Right, 43 plus 47 plus ... Let's get the last few now. The last few are 64, 69, and 70. And I'll divide all that by the number. So adding them all together, I got 617. Dividing by 11, I got an average age of 56. And I'm rounding here, 0.09. I'll round it to just 56.1 years. That's the average age of the last 11 presidents. Let's go ahead and find our median, the middle number. So the median would be 1, 2. I'm getting 55. Check if your calculations agree with mine, and we'll call that Q2. And then finally, we're going to find the mode. And let's examine the data. Is there any number that is repeating? If so, how many times? So as I scan the data, I'm not seeing any repeats in this list right here. That means that one of two things. You can either think of it this way, every single number is the mode, or there is no mode. I'm just going to say that there is no mode here. No mode, because all of the numbers just occur one time. All right, moving on to number 6. It says compare the means, medians, and modes. So once again, whenever it says compare, this is where we got to write stuff, interpret. So let's begin by comparing our means. I'll highlight them right now. Here are our means. For group 1, the old presidents, all right, the old. And then this one is for group 2. Let me stay consistent. I've been doing my old presidents in yellow and my new presidents in blue. So these are the old and these are the new. All right, so on average, we can see that it's the original presidents were slightly older, right? They're on average 57 years, whereas our newer presidents on average are 56 years. So let's write that down. The last presidents I'll say the recent presidents are on average, and that's important to say, are on average slightly, just a little bit. They're just like 1 year behind. So are on average slightly younger, right? The more recent presidents, that's these ones, are slightly younger than the original or the first 11 presidents. And as always, we will use data to back that up. So I will actually compare. I will say they are 56.1 years versus the 57.3 years. That says years and that says versus. So we're comparing them, period. But not only do our means show that the last 11 presidents are younger, the same is true if you look at the median. The medians also demonstrate that the most recent presidents are a little bit younger because the median is 55, whereas the median of the original was 57. So we can say, hey, that the same is true by looking at the median. And we'll support our data. 55 years for the newer presidents, or the last 11 presidents, versus 57 years for the original 11. So we've gone and compared now our mean. We've compared our medians. Okay. Now we just need to compare the mode. So there's not much to compare with the mode because remember, there was no mode in the most recent, but let's talk about it nonetheless. I'll say the mode of the first 11 presidents' ages was 57 years, whereas the last 11 presidents have no mode. Awesome. So 3 sentences, 1 for the mean, 1 for the median, and 1 for the mode. And we've done an excellent job comparing the two. All right, now for the fun stuff. Number 7 and 8 says create a box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot for the first and the last 11 presidents. So remember, to create a box and whisker plot, we need 5 specific pieces of information, and those are called our 5-number summary. The 5-number summary. So let's come up with our 5-number summary for the first group. I'll call them group 1. And then the 5-number summary for group 2. Now remember, the 5-number summary consists of these. We need the minimum number, we need the first quartile, we need the second quartile or the median, also known as Q2, we need the third quartile, and then we need the max. So we'll do this for both sets, for group 1 and for group 2. And then we'll create some box plots in the space right here. So looking back at my list, I can see, I'm looking at the first group, which I have ordered right here. Okay, I can see that the minimum is 49. The maximum, I'll highlight the numbers that are important. The minimum was 49, the maximum was 68, and the median was 57. Let's write that all down. So, the minimum was 49, the maximum was 68, and the median was 57. Next, we need our quartiles. So I'm going to go back to my ordered list. And here's how we'll find the quartiles. So you're going to want to exclude the middle value and just kind of put brackets around the first half and put brackets around the second half. It'll make it easier for us to count. Now, the median of the whole data set was 57. But to find the first quartile, we now will find the median of the first half. So the middle number of that first half. And the middle number, as we can see, is 54. And that represents Q1. I'm going to try to keep this as clean and neat as possible. Oops. But yeah, so these are our two halves, and the median, or the middle number of the first half, was 54. I'll call that Q1. And the median of the second half is 61, because it's halfway. It's the middle number of that second half. So I'll call that Q3. So we go in order Q1, Q2, Q3, and on the ends we have our min and our max. So Q1 is 54, Q3 is 61. 54, 61. Awesome. And we'll create our box plot in a minute, but let's go ahead and find the 5-number summary for our last 11 presidents. I'll let you do that using this list right here, this ordered list, and check your answer against mine when you're done. Okay, so I've already found my 5-number summary. It looks like the min is 43, Q1 is 47, the median we already knew was 55, but then Q3, 64, and our maximum number is 70. So let's write those down in order. We had 43 as our min, 47 as our Q1, 55 as our median, 64 is Q3, and our maximum number was 70. Now that we have all the information, we can create our box plots side by side right here. So first we're going to create an x-axis. Actually, you know what would be really nice? Let's create our axis in the middle and show that we're going from, let's see, we need to go from about 43, that's our super minimum, all the way to 70, that's our super maximum. So let's just keep this clean and go from 40 to 70 and go by tens. So that'll be 50 there, that'll be 60. And in the middle, I'll mark this as 45, this is 55, and this is 65. You could have gone from, 30 to 80 if you wanted, but since there is nobody in this, lower than 40 or older than 70, it wouldn't make sense. So we'll just use our appropriate scale, but it's up to you to figure out what that is. All right, so on the top, I'll do the first, and on the bottom, I'll do the last 11 presidents. Okay, so our first 11 presidents, we need to put dots on our min and on our max. Minimum was 49, so that'll be right around here. See, it's less than 50. And then our maximum age is 68. So I'll put that right around, this looks like 68 to me, so right around there. Next, we finished our min and our max. Now we need to create our box in the middle using these 3 numbers. So 54, 57, and 61 will each get a line. 54 looks to me to be like right around there. So I'll make my line. Then 57 would be between 55 and 60, right around there. And then 61. Each of those will create a part of my box. And then in the last step, we connect our whiskers. So just to make sure that our reader knows what these numbers are, we'll label them 49, 68, 54, 57, and then 61. Beautiful. Using the same process with the numbers for group 2, let's now create a box plot for our last 11 presidents. We know that the minimum age was 43, and I'm going to make it down here. Our maximum age was 70. So notice, you can see that our first 11 were younger because their max ends at an earlier point. And then the 3-number summary, so now we're done with those. 3-number summary, 47. Here we go, 47. 55. And 64. Right around there. Wow. Look at how spread out this data is. It's exactly what we said earlier. We said that the last few presidents, their ages are all over the place, whereas the first presidents, their ages are closer together. So now you can visually see the range here is huge, whereas the range here is smaller because they're closer together. Okay, but let's not graffiti all over our work. We will now continue with our numbers. We have 43, we have 47, we have 55, we have 64, and we have 70. Okay. Awesome. Next question says, find and compare the interquartile ranges. So that's another vocab word. Let's add it to our little bank of notes up here. Interquartile range is an important vocab word, and all it is Q3 minus Q1. So it's similar to the range, except it's the interquartile range, meaning not the max and the min, but the quartiles, right? The range of the quartiles. So instead of representing the spread of all the data, this one represents the spread of just the middle 50% of data. That's the definition. It represents the spread of the middle 50% of data. So here, let's put a box because this is our vocabulary bank. Gosh, that's the best looking box I've ever seen. Let's try that one more time. Mejor. Awesome. So Q3 minus Q1. All right, so let's find the IQR of group 1, the older presidents, the first presidents. Q3 for the first group of presidents was 61, and Q1 was 54. So that means the middle 50% of presidents have an IQR, or a spread, of 7 years. On the other hand, the IQR of the last group of presidents is 64. That's Q3 minus 47, which tells me that their IQR is 17 years. Wow, that's a lot bigger. So let's interpret this. It says find and compare. So I will say like this. The IQR, or well, if we want to interpret, we'll just say the spread of the middle 50% of president. The spread of the middle 50% of recent presidents is larger than the first presidents. And we will use our backup data, which says, yeah, 17 years versus just 7 years. Excellent. Last question of the day. It says the standard deviation for the first presidents is 4.881, and the standard deviation of the last presidents is 8.6598. What does the standard deviation tell us about the data? So this is the last note that you should take away from today. Standard deviation, note, is a measure of the spread of the data. There's like a complex mathematical formula behind it, which if you go to AP Stats, you will learn. But for now, just know it's another measure of spread. Just like range was a measure of spread, right? Other measures of spread include range and IQR. So this is just another way to measure the spread of the data. So here's what that means. So a higher standard deviation means more variability. It means that the data is more variable or all over the place. Whereas a lower standard deviation means less variability or more consistency. That means they're closer together. They're all around the same place. So let's look. If our first presidents have a smaller standard deviation, that means the standard deviation tells us that the first president's ages have a smaller spread. Their ages are less variable, more consistent, and closer together. Than the last 11 presidents. And with data, we will back that up. Standard deviation of 4.8 versus 8.6. Ta-da! We're done. If the standard deviation is lower, it means there's less spread, so that their ages are less variable, less all over the place, more consistent, which just means closer together. So on your performance task tomorrow, you don't have to say all three of these things. You just say any one of them. I'm just telling you different ways to make the same point. If they're closer together, it means they're more consistent. And if they're more consistent, it means that they're less variable. They all are different ways of saying the same thing. But make sure that you do say one of these things when describing the spread or the standard deviation. All right, we're all done for today. Wow, look at all this incredible work that we've done. You guys are rock stars. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.